Okay, good morning, everybody. We have to find maybe a better time for this shiur that everybody can participate, or we're going just to tape it and everybody can watch it in his own free time. Anyway, today we're on Parashat Re'eh. Re'eh Anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha veklala. Look, I'm putting in front of you blessing and a curse. Et habracha, the blessing, asher tishma'u el mitzvot Hashem Elokechem, asher Anochi metzaveh etchem hayom. The blessing is when you listen to all the mitzvahs that God is telling you us to do. And the curse, if you don't listen. And the first question is, 1 minute. If you telling me I'm putting in front of you the curse and the blessing, and then you explain to me what is the blessing and what is the curse, why do I need to know? Why do you tell me the bracha veklala in the beginning? We don't need those two words, bracha veklala, because we can say, Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom, et habracha, I'm putting in front of you today the bracha if you're going to listen, and then the curse if you're not going to listen. Why do I need to have something, the title, look, I'm putting in front of you blessing and curse, and then the explanation, the blessing, it's like we don't need those at the beginning. The truth is that, as we know, the Torah doesn't just tell us every letter, every point, everything. It's got a meaning. So what's the meaning here? First of all, the meaning is very simple. Bracha veklala is like something, blessing and curse. So we want to understand, what does it mean? Do you put in front of us blessing and curse together? What does it mean? Is the blessing a curse? Is the curse a blessing? Or how can it be? It's strange. Putting in front of us blessing, and you're putting in front of us a curse, but there is a vav, there is and a blessing. It looks like it's connected. And then there is the explanation that separates the two. And the real truth is that in life, we really don't know what is a blessing and what is a curse. And to make it even better, if we go in the way of God, everything is a blessing. And we can change a curse into blessing. In other words, the Torah is telling us a very important point. Blessing and curse is in our hands. We can make it a blessing or make it a curse. If we go in the way of God, it's going to be a blessing. If we're going in the way of the idols and against God, then it's going to be a curse. Blessing and curse. Also, a lot of times we don't really know what is a blessing and what is a curse. What starts as a blessing, we find later on, it wasn't a blessing at all. It was a curse. And what starts like a curse, sometimes we find it was a blessing. And I can tell you from our own experience, and I think everybody in life went through those things. Everybody's got his own story. And like I had very difficult times in the business, and I was thought, wow, what a curse. But eventually, those bad times brought me to where I am today. They showed me all the problems that I have to fix. And when I fixed them, I got my business much, much better than ever before. In other words, what is a curse? Was it a curse or a blessing? It was a blessing. And sometimes you win something and you think, wow, what a blessing. And eventually, you find out that it wasn't a blessing. It was the worst thing that could happen to you. For example, a guy has got a very important meeting abroad, for example, in America. And it's very difficult now to send, and he gets a ticket, it's the last ticket. And he can go on the plane to this important meeting that he has abroad. Unfortunately, on the way to the airport, there is an accident and he is being delayed. And when he gets to the airport, he realizes that he lost the flight. But that's not all. Then he realized that his competition, who didn't have a ticket before, he was on the waiting list. And in other words, if he would have been on the plane, he would have won this business deal with no problem because the competition couldn't get there. Unfortunately, what's happening now is he stays here and the competition went on the plane for this important meeting. Of course, he was very, very sad and he was disappointed and he thought, wow, God, why did you do this to me? 2 hours later, an accident, and the plane falls down. So what is the curse or a blessing? It was a blessing. And it's also in normal business deals that you do. And in normal life, sometimes you think something is good and it's bad, and something is bad, it's good. But the Torah tells us, when you go in the way of God, everything is good. And what does it mean? We have to know that God is with us, whatever. He's our Father in heaven. And whatever it does is for our own benefit. So he tells us, look, if you do the mitzvahs, and you have to understand, doing the mitzvahs is not for me, you're doing it for you. I don't need your mitzvahs. You need them. If you do the mitzvahs, it means you're going in the right way in this world, which means that you're going to the right direction, and eventually it's only for the good, even if sometimes it's difficult. It's like this story that Or HaChaim HaKadosh brings. This old guy is sitting in the middle of a way, and there are two ways to go. One way looks terrible. Holes, stones, and whatnot. The other way, beautiful, beautiful pavement, flowers on both sides of the way. So what would you think? Immediately, everybody would choose to go in the beautiful way. Who wants to choose this horrible way? But then the old guy explains, you have to understand, this beautiful way, after a walk of 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it will turn to a terrible, unbelievable, dangerous way, with a lot of obstacles and holes and who knows what. On the other side, this way, you walk in it, after 20 minutes, it becomes a beautiful, unbelievable way. And this is exactly our Olam Hazeh, this world. This world, we come here, it starts very difficult. We have obstacles, we have problems, difficult times. But if we go in the right way, if we listen to God, this leads us to the next world, which is forever, which is the world that we all want to get there and will not get the best share that we can. On the other side, people sometimes look at what they've got here and they run after their desires, the lust, and all the joys of this physical world. And they don't realize that in a few minutes, it will change and it will be a terrible place to be. In other words, this world is limited. It's only a short while. And then we have the world forever, Olam Haba. So one's got his mind, he understands and realizes, I want to suffer here for a few minutes in order to gain the best part that I can in Olam Haba. From the other side, I understand and realize I take all the physical things of this world, all the things that are connected to the body and the lust and the joys of the physical life. It means that I'm going to lose eventually the next world. So, what is telling us? I'm putting it in front of you. You have the blessing and a curse, and it's connected together. Yes. Why is it connected together? Because et bracha, the blessing, if you listen to the mitzvahs that God gives you, and the curse, if you don't listen to what God is telling you. And all this episode, you know where it's happening? This is the episode of Har Grizim and Har Eva. On Har Grizim, it's written, you will put the blessing on the mountain of Grizim and the curse on the mount of Eva. And what is this whole idea? Why do we need all this show? And what's happening is, as Rashi says, the blessing is on Har Grizim. So what's happening is, the Ikar Siftei Chachamim explains to us. And it's written in Parashat Tavo. On Har Grizim were standing 6 tribes And on Har Eval were standing 6 tribes, and the Levim was standing in the middle. And the Levim will put their faces against Har Gerizim and started with a blessing. And then they turned their faces to the Mount of Eval and opened with a curse. What is all this show? Why do we need it? Tell them the blessing, tell them the curse. And you know the funny thing is that the blessing and the curse were exactly the same, but opposite. In other words, what was blessing? Well, it was just not doing it was the curse. Or reverse. In other words, it's the same thing. So what is all this idea? Says the Rambam, we on Shabbos are going to announce on Chodesh Elul, Chodesh HaSlicha v'Rachamim, the Chodesh that we have to do tshuva, the Chodesh that we have to go back to God. Ani ledodi ve'dodi li. Says the Rambam in Ilchot Shuvah that everybody has to look at himself and the whole world, that it's half-half. Half on the good side, half on the bad side. And any action that is going to do now is going to change the balance of the whole world. The whole world. What does it mean? If everything is equal, it's balanced. So every action you do, if it's a good action, you're going to change not only yourself, the whole world for the good. And if you do the bad action, then you're going to change the whole world for the worse. And this is what's the idea of bracha v'klala. This is the idea of Har Gerizim and Har Eval. God put half of the tribe on one mountain, the half on the other mountain, to show us this is the situation, see it in your eyes. And then brings us to the beginning of the parsha, Re'eh, look. Why look? Why not listen? We say, Shema Israel, listen, Israel. What is look? What does it mean to look? Because we have to use our imagination. We have to look and see the right thing to do. And in this way, when he put 6 tribes here and 6 tribes here, it was an equal situation. So everybody realizes that any action that is being done, that's exactly the picture. Half-half, half blessing, half curse. In other words, if I do good, wow, the good is going to influence on everybody, not only on me. So in my hands, and each one of us, is the balance of the whole world. And that's the way to look at it. It says, who am I to change things? Okay, I don't care. I'm going to suffer with it. But it's not only you. It's like with the corona. The corona, God is teaching us a big lesson. It says, it's not only you in this world. Even if you're vaccinated, if you got the vaccine, if you go out and you can, chas v'shalom, give this disease to somebody else. So it's not only you in this world. It's the influence of what you do on others. And if you understand and realize that it's in your hand, then you look at things in a different way. Re'eh anochi, God's telling us, look, I'm putting it in front of you, each one of you. And it's Hayom, today. Hayom is written a few times in the Parsha. What is Hayom? Today. Don't wait for tomorrow. In other words, always when we ask the question, what is the most important day in the year? So a lot of people say, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos. They are holy days, but not the most important days. The most important days is today. Yesterday is gone. It's not going to come back. Tomorrow is not in our hands. The only thing in our hands is today, now, today. So now we have to look at the picture, see the picture in the right eyes, and realize that every action that we do is going to change the balance of everything. And when we're talking about doing tshuva, there are 2 ways, says the Rav Pinkus, to do tshuva. One way is the hard way. You did sin, fix it. And the same thing you did, you have to fix it. It's not so easy. We are all, let's say, prisoners of our temptation, of our bad body. And if we sin, there is something problem with us that we sin, that we are desiring, it's very hard to change our attitude and be really tzaddikim. We can try. But if the demand is to do 100% tshuva, it's almost impossible. But there is another way. God, Banim atem LaHashem Elokechem. We are the children of God. That's what the Parsha is saying. We are the children of God. And if we are the children of God, God loves us. He wants only the best for us. So imagine to yourself a father that his son sinned against him. And he didn't see him the whole year because the whole year was busy with running after his desires and stupid things and games and crimes. And then there is one day, 1 month, let's say 1 month, the father comes and tells his son, I don't care what you did. Come back to me. He sees his son. It's ani ledodi vedodi li. I am to my uncle is to me. I am to you, you to me. And God is opening his hands to embrace us. Says the Rav Pinkus, what God wants in this minute is that we will take ourselves and run to the arms of God. And the minute that we do this, we are on our right way to truth. Imagine to yourself a father that didn't see his child for a whole year. And he sinned against him. And he's willing now to forgive. And he shows himself in front of his son. And the son, instead of running to the arms of his father, turns the back and goes, this is terrible. And from the other side, it's so easy. Says the Rav Pinkus, just run and embrace your father back. Hug your father. He hugging you, you hug him back. And how do you do this? Show him that you care. Do good. Look, I'm putting in front of you the blessing and the curse. Do the good in the eyes of God. I don't care what you did before. Change your ways. Go in the good way now. This is unbelievable. So easy. And people sometimes don't care. Okay, another month. Chodesh Elul, so what? So what? You have a chance of a lifetime to change everything. What is blessing and what is a curse? If you trust God, you see miracles. There is this famous story about the Chafetz Chaim. This guy wants to meet the Chafetz Chaim, and he finds out where he is, and he's in this guest house, and he comes to the owner and says, I want to ask the Chafetz Chaim a question. He says, no problem, I'll put you on the table of the Chafetz Chaim, and in the end of the meal, after the Birkat Hamazon, you can ask your question. He was so happy, sits with the Chafetz Chaim. And says the Chafetz Chaim, approaching this guy that he doesn't know, never met. And he says to him, I wonder. David HaMelech is saying, אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית השם לאורך ימים. Only good and chesed will chase me all my life. I wonder, what does it mean? Normally, bad things are chasing you, not good things. Good and chesed, good and mercy is chasing you. What is David HaMelech telling us? He says, sometimes in life, it looks like the good is chasing us. What does it mean? You do the good in the eyes of God. You work and you do the mitzvahs and good to people. And it disturbs your normal life. It disturbs your parnasa. It looks like that because you do those mitzvahs, you're losing parnasa. But that's not right. David HaMelech says, I wish that all my life, Tov v'chesed that the Tov and Chesed will chase me. That the good and mercy will chase me. Good and Chesed, Milut Chasadim, will chase me. V'shavti bebet Hashem kol yemei chayai, and I will sit in the house of God all my life. Says Chafetz Chaim, one who does good No evil is going to happen. They bench, and the guy gets up and goes. So the Balabait walks to him. What's happening? You wanted to ask the Chafetz Chaim a question. Why don't you ask him? Says, I got the answer. Says, what? I didn't hear you ask a question. Says, I don't understand. I started a charity a few years ago, and it started to take more and more time, and it was going on, let's say, on the account of my parnasa. I put less hours in my business and more hours in the charity. And then my wife came to me one day and says, sorry, it's enough. You did your share. There are a lot of other people, good people in the community. Give one of them to manage this charity, and you go back to work. Like we're losing money, we're losing parnasa. And I didn't agree with her. And then it was going on, and then we agreed that I will go to Chafetz Chaim and ask him what to do. And I got my answer. When you have the feeling that the good is chasing you, the charity you do is chasing you, you are in a good place. Don't worry. This is Yetzer Hara. This is evil. He wants you to change your ways. Don't change. And don't worry. Nothing bad is going to happen. And that's what David HaMelech is telling us. And this is Re'eh Anochi Noten Lifnechem Hayom, Bracha V'Kiyum. I'm putting in front of you. Look at it. Imagine it in your eyes. The blessing and the curse. It's in your hand. It's in our hand to change everything for the good. Even if it looks as a curse, it can be changed to a blessing. I wish for all of us to open our arms to our God in heaven that is opening his arms in Chodesh Elul to embrace us. And look and see the right picture and run to his arms and change our ways for the better. Yom Tov, all the best to everybody.